Hey everyone, it's Angie Coley coming to you from lovely, very, very cold New Orleans. Um, I say that with a caveat because I know that those of you who are up north and regularly deal with snow are laughing at me, and I accept that. That's okay. Those of us that are from the south and are not accustomed to snow, we are struggling. We are bitching about the cold, quite frankly, and that's just going to be a thing until all this cold nastiness goes away. Um, yeah. So today I wanted to talk about pivoting and rolling with the punches and planning because that's basically what you're signing up for when you go to start a business. You are going to constantly be pivoting. I don't want to quite compare it to dodgeball, but it could be a fun game of dodgeball too. Like, just get out of the way. This thing's coming toward you. You never know which angle it's going to come from. And I don't say any of that to scare you. Like, today is an exercise in pivoting for me because I've tried to record this video twice and I had a brief power outage before. And then last time I recorded it, I had a good 6.5 minutes. And when I went to listen to it again before I uploaded it to YouTube, for some reason, this thing didn't pick up any damn sound. So, I'm watching this carefully and like making sure that the monitor down there is picking up what I'm saying. But the key is this, like when you are planning your business, when you're thinking about what kind of business you want to start, avoid the planning trap. And the planning trap is where you create a plan. This is what I'm going to do. But then in case this thing happens, here's my backup plan. And then in case this thing happens, here's my backup plan. And then if this thing happens, here's this backup plan to the backup plan. It's really, really easy to get stuck in that trap and not actually move forward because you're so busy thinking of every possible contingency. One, it's not possible to think of every possible contingency, and even if you spent all your time planning, there's Stella crashing the video. Today is going to be a day of pivoting. Even if you had time and the effort and the creativity to think of every possible contingency, life is going to throw a freaking curveball at you, my friends. Look at everybody here with the pandemic. The best of planners probably did not plan for this protracted, like, shutdown impact on business. So think about that. All you can do is really plan for the unexpected. You don't know what's going to happen, but you know that something is going to happen that you didn't expect. So that's why the importance of that FU funds. We've talked about that, but paying yourself first whenever you get money coming in so that you have that freedom fund sitting there, enabling you to walk away from stressful situations and give you time to recover. It's critical. So life is going to throw you curveballs, no matter how well you plan for this. And that's why the businesses that are doing really well, or they're recovering slowly from the pandemic, are the ones that were able to pivot. One of my mentors says this, and I like it. I'll introduce this and then I'll explain it in a second. So he says, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. And that's not to say that business is doing battle, although it is a fight of sorts. It's just that you can do all this planning, and then when you go out into the real world, your assumptions will be tested. Reality will change, like a pandemic. Things will happen that you couldn't have possibly planned for, and then you have to adjust and react and pivot. So there you go. I don't think it's worth it to spend all this time planning and planning and planning and planning. Most of the time, all of the stuff that you've spent all that time planning for doesn't even come to pass. Trust me, as an over-anxious over-planner. Most of the time, the plans that I've made get tossed out the windows. But the planning is important. Knowing what you're going to do in the event of unanticipated business interruption. That's a good plan to have. Knowing what you're going to do, how you're going to adjust, and then being able to figure out the rest on the fly. The thought behind planning is important, but you can't rigidly adhere to the path in front of you. I'm going to tell you an interesting story, because this is kind of like taking a GPS. There was once, when I still lived in Northern California, where I was going somewhere new, and I was pretty sure I knew the route, but I wanted to make sure, so I turned on my GPS, the Waze app, which I love because it's got user-generated traffic reports in real time. So I'm going what I think is the shortest route based on what I know about my neighborhood. and Waze is telling me to go this long way convoluted route. And I don't agree with it. So I plow on ahead, going to the shortest route, and get stuck on a Sunday night in gridlock traffic in a suburban neighborhood where there's never usually traffic. It turns out that there'd been a shooting, and that whole street and all of the surrounding streets were cut off to protect the crime scene while they did the investigation. So the app knew that something was happening there, and I thought that I knew better, and I stuck to my plan, and I got stuck in that traffic. And that's not to make light of anything. I mean, poor person. I hope everything was solved. I hope their family found peace. I hope the perpetrator found justice. Like, I'm not intending to make me being stuck in traffic more important than somebody losing their life or being shot. But what I'm trying to say is plan and then be flexible, because you're going to come into unexpected obstacles like that. Nobody could have predicted that. And yet, when it came time for me to move around it, I refused to and got stuck as a result. So the planning is important. Knowing how you're going to react or how you think you're going to react in certain situations is definitely important, especially in business. But you've got to be flexible, because that plan is going to go off the rail at some point. And would you rather trust yourself to take a breather, de-stress however you can, think about it for a little while and come up with a plan, versus digging through all this planning that you did years ago for the ideal backup plan and hoping that it's going to save you in a pinch? Like, 80% is good enough to go. Let's build this plan. Let's get out there and see what happens, and let's pivot and adjust on the fly. So that's what I've got for you today. Shoot 3 on permission to kick ass, and let's go kick some ass.